Hi, welcome back. So we've talked about slope-intercept form of a line. Now we're going to talk about standard form. So what are the intercepts of a graph? How would knowing those help you graph a line? Well, the intercepts of a graph are where the line crosses each axis. And since we know these points, we could create a line with those points. Since/if we know these points. So where the line crosses each axis, so that means the x and the y. If or since we know these, since we know them as if we knew them right away. If we know them, then we can plot a line on a graph and just draw that line right through those 2 points, right? Because all you need to create a line is 2 points. So what information does the standard form of a line reveal about that line? The x and y intercepts. So let's do some vocabulary review. I decided in class that we were going to kick out this part because we've already wrote out the definition of a line multiple times before in previous videos, so we're going to kick that guy out. But we do need to understand our x and y intercepts. So for our x-intercept, this is where the line crosses the x-axis. Or I say the x-coordinate, because remember we're going to have a 0. So you're going to have your drawing. Here's our y, here's our x, here's a line. This point right here is going to be our x-intercept. The x-coordinate is the one we need. Okay. So now let's talk about the y-coordinate. This is where the line crosses the y-axis. Or the y-coordinate. So if we have us a y-axis and an x-axis, and we draw us a line, this point right here is going to be our y-intercept, because it's where it touches the y-axis, or the y-coordinate is our big deal there. Alright, so let's talk about that standard form. It is always going to be in the form ax plus by equals c. A, b, and c are just going to be numbers, but remember, we're not allowed to have fractions. We only want whole numbers. And the x and the y are your variables. So let's talk about how to do this. You're probably going to look at this and think, this is super easy. Why isn't everyone in this form? So it says sketch a graph here. Well, the first step to doing this is to find the intercepts. So let's do it. Find intercepts. Well, how would we do that? Well, to find the x-intercept, we know that it needs to be some number and 0 as the y-intercept, right? To find the y-intercept, it needs to be some number. No, 0 and some number. Since we know one of the coordinates, we can just solve. So let me rewrite our problem. 3x minus 2y equals 9. Well, we want our y to be 0, so we'll get in and solve for it. 2 times 0 equals 9. Well, negative 2 times 0 is just 0, so that goes away, leaving us with 3x equals 9. Then we divide by 3 to get x by itself, and we get x is equal to 3. So we go to our x-axis, we want the 3, and we put it up. Same difference here, except for this time, we want our 0 to be our x. So plug it in. 3 times 0 minus 2y equals 9. Well, that goes away. Keep that negative that goes with that 2 there. So we have negative 2y equals 9. Well, y equals negative 9 over 2. Or if we type that in our calculator, it's about negative 4.5. So we're going to go on our y-axis to about negative 4.5, which is about right there. And then we're going to use the brown marker to connect those points. Because all you need are 2 points to connect a line. That is a very bad looking line, but there you have it. Find intercepts, then graph. So literally all we have to do is find the intercepts and plot the points, draw a line through them. So let's do another one. Actually, no, I'll let you try that one on your own. If you want to check it at school, you're free to. Let's keep going. So let's talk about how this relates to horizontal or vertical lines. Sorry about that little scrape down on paper. What if we had a equaling 0? So we had a graph that looks like 2y equals 6. Well, in this case then, all we need to do is do y equals 3. What does the graph y equals 3 look like? Well, we go to 3, and our y equals tells us that this is just a horizontal line. So if a equals 0, then we have no x-intercept, which means it's horizontal, because it only touches one of the axes. Okay. What about the opposite? What if we have 3x equals negative 6 because our b is equal to 0? Well then, we divide by 3 on each side, we get us a negative 2. So we go put our dot at our negative 2. And we know that an x equals is going to be a vertical line. Every single time we have x equals anything, it's a vertical line. So if b equals 0, then meaning we have a vertical line. Alright. For the show you're learning, it just has 2 examples just like that, where you have to create a vertical and horizontal line. Now let's do a quick reteach your understanding here. So remember that standard form can only have whole numbers, integers, no fraction or decimals. So let's match these with the correct ones. This is correct in standard form. It's 4x plus 7y equals 28. However, if something's wrong here, even though we don't have fractions or anything, by needs to be on the other side. Here, we've got a is not an integer. Look at 0.5. That's not an integer. And here, even though they're not like big numbers, those are still number 1, and 1 is still an integer. So, boom, it works. Alright. We want to figure out what he did wrong. He is given 3x plus 2y equals 12. We want to figure out, well, what did he say is wrong? Well, then it says the x-intercept is 4. Well, let's check that. All we have to do to find the x-intercept is get rid of the y. So if I cover up that y right there, we have 3x equals 12. Well, 12 divided by 3 is exactly 4, so that one's right. Let's talk about the y. If I want to know the y, I cover up that. And so I get 2y equals 12. So y would be equal to 12 divided by 2, which is 6. So this is wrong. It should be 6. Okay, so now we need to know the slope of the graph. Well, we did something similar to this before in our last video. So negative 3x plus 2y equals 12. We want to get everything but y on the other side. So this is a positive 3x, or ignore that. Minus 3x here, minus 3x there. 2y equals 12 minus 3x. We need to divide by 2. We get equals 6 minus 3 over 2x. They got 2 over 3, so they're wrong. This is, however, correct. Notice that it's not in the order that you usually would have, the mx plus b. Negative 3 over 2, as long as it's still correct with the signs matching, that is still our graph. And how would we find out if this one worked? Well, this is our x. This is our y. We plug it in and see if it makes it true. So 3 times 2 plus 2 times 3 does in fact give us 6 plus 6, which is 12. Alright. Finally, we want to find the x and y intercepts, and it wants us to fill it in. So we want to solve for x and solve for y. So first things first, we want to substitute 0 for y. So we're going to put that 0 right there. Then that's going to go away, leaving us with just a 6x. Then once we divide, we ended up with 3. So our x-intercept is 3. Over here, 0 for x. Leaving us with negative 9y. They want you to forget that negative, but don't. Then you end up with a negative 2. So there we go. So this was just a quick reminder of how things work and showing you that they can do tons of things with this type of equation. Alright. So this page is where we learned that I had a itty bitty bit of a typo. So for this one here, I want you to change this number to a 2 and this number to a 5. Down here, we are going to change this number to a 4 when you try it on your own, and this number to a 2. Alright, I'm not going to work out the Show Your Learning parts. I will, however, have it for you if you need to look at it. We are, however, going to do A and B. Let's do A. Well, we know that if we're given 2 points, we can find our m. So we have y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, right? We have our points. I just went ahead and did it right here instead of rewriting it this time. So 0 minus 2 over 8 minus 0. We get a negative 2 over 8, which simplifies to a negative 1 over 4. So we have an m. Remember our formula y equals mx plus b? Well, let's create that. Well, we already know our b. Usually we'd have to solve for the b and do all of that. But we already know what our b is. Remember I told you, whenever the 0 comes first, then we have our y-intercept. So this is our y-intercept. So what we have is y equals negative 1 over 4x plus 2. Okay. So you might be thinking, the format we want it in is ax plus by equals c. Well, we can't just throw that negative 1 over 4 over there, because remember, a, b, and c, they have to be integers, not fractions. But we know how to get rid of a fraction. Multiply the entire thing by the denominator. So, if we do that, we get 4y equals negative x plus 8. Now we can just toss that sucker to the other side like y'all were originally thinking. So remember, it's x plus 4y equals 8. And that is that in standard form. The x always comes first, then the y, then the 8. Okay, so it's a lot easier if they give us the y-intercept, but this time they didn't. At least in the way that I fixed it, they didn't. So let's take a look. We're still going to have to find the slope no matter what, unfortunately. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 is equal to negative 7 minus 2 over 5 minus 3. Negative 7 minus 2 gives us a negative 9. 5 minus 3 gives us a 2. That doesn't simplify. How are we going to find the y-intercept form so that we can transform it? Well, y equals mx plus b. So we have 3 and 2. So we have x and y. Well, let's just plug in what we know and solve for b. So solve for b. Well, we know that y is 2. Negative 9 over 2 is our m, and we know that we're multiplying that by our 3 plus our b. If we use our handy-dandy calculators, we get a 27 over 2 when we multiply those. Our 2 over here hasn't changed, and we keep our b. Now to get rid of that, we got to add 27 over 2 on both sides. Boo! Those go away. We get b is equal to 31 over 2. Now we have an m and we have a b. So our formula is y equals m negative 9 over 2 x plus 31 over 2. Well, remember, we do not like it at all when we have a fraction. So let's multiply by the LCM. If these had been different numbers, we would multiply by the biggest number they both go into. But since they're the same, 2 is the biggest number they both go into. So then we get 2y equals negative 9x plus 31. Then, in order to fix this, stick that x on the other side. So we have 9x plus y equals 31. Alrighty. I hope that this makes sense. Like I said, if you need any help with this, please feel free to reach out to me. The answers to these two Show Your Learnings will be in our notebook that I have where I show all of our notes keys. Okay? Let's keep going. So in class, we decided that we didn't really want to do the Show Your Learning, so it won't be there. If you actually want to try it yourself and talk to me about it, you are free to. But we decided we didn't need that part. So for this part, let's talk about what's important. Like usual, I don't have my highlighter, so she has $40 to spend on a mixture of almonds and cashews. So she wants to get a bunch of almonds and cashews in a bag. And she wants the same amount of almonds as she does cashews. So she wants the same amount. How can we determine how much of each nut she should buy? Here's where I stress that you must define your variables. So let's let our x equal the pounds of almonds. Let our y equal the pounds of cashews. Well then, how much does it cost to buy almonds? Well, it says $8 right here, so we have 8x. Plus, how much does it cost to buy cashews? Well, right here it tells us, if you can see that, I'm sorry if you can't, it's $10 a pound, so 10y equals, how much do we have to spend? 40. Alright, so in order to graph it, so that we can see this, we have our x-intercept that we need, and our y-intercept. For your x-intercept, we have 8x plus 10 times 0 equals 40. We get 8x equals 40, because that just goes away. we gotta divide us by 8. We get x equals 5. So we're gonna go and put a big O dot on 5. Okay. Now we have 8 times 0 this time, plus 10y equals 40. That goes away, so 10y equals 40. Divide by 10, divide by 10. So we have y equals 4. So we're going to go all the way up to the 4 and put a dot. So what each of these dots mean? Well, this means if you buy no almonds, you can get 5 pounds of, no cashews, 5 pounds of almonds. So no cashews, 5 pounds almonds. And here, no almond, 4 pounds of cashews. So if we connect our dots, then what you're going to see is that we want to look, and my line is not perfect, so I apologize in advance. We want to look at where they're about the same. Well, here's 2 and 2. And then 3, 1, 2. So in class, I told them that we were never going to get an exact amount and that I hate problems like these, so I will try my best not to assign them, but it looks about 2 and 2.5. So if you buy 2 pounds of almonds and 2.5 pounds of cashews, you'll get about the same amount of each. But there's no exact way to do it. And if you need more explanation on this or want a better graph, I'll show you your book's graph if you come to me, okay? Super sorry about that. So let me write 2 pounds almond, 2.5 pounds cashews. Or vice versa, because 2.5 kind of goes up to 2. So it's going to be one or the other. Or 2.5 almond or 2 cashew. As stated, my graph is ugly and horribly drawn, and in class I had a graph from the book that I was able to show. As I'm doing this from home, I don't really have my book on me right now, but if you would like to see the book's graph, I would be happy to show it to you if you have questions, so come and see me. Alright. So now, let's talk about why anyone would ever use standard form or y equals mx plus b form. What's the appeal? Well, Hannah's going to spend $150 on movie tickets. Reserve seats are going to cost her $25, so general admission is going to cost $10. How could we represent this with a linear equation? The easiest way to set this up is to let x equal our reserved seats. And y equal our general admission. Then we have $25 per reserved seat, so 25x plus $10 for general admission, so 10y, and she's looking to spend a total of $150. That's it. That's an equation we could use to explain that. Now let's look at what it looks like in slope-intercept form and see what both types of equations tell us. So, in standard form. We already wrote it in standard form when we created it. Sometimes it's going to be way easier to create one in standard form than it is in y equals mx plus b, which is slope-intercept. So notice in standard form, this tells us she can't spend over $150. We also get an idea of what each thing costs. However, with slope-intercept form, and I'm just going to go ahead and give it to you. It gives her that y-intercept, and it says she can get 15 general ed tickets if she doesn't buy any reserves. So it tells you if you buy 0 reserves what happens, because it gives you your y-intercept. So both of them are good in their own way. But if we were going to find the x-intercept, which one would be the best one to use? Well, I'd say standard form, because all we have to do is kick out the y and see what happens. Put a 0 in for y. That's exactly what the question on the next page asks us. To find the x-intercept, which one would be easier? Well, standard form. Because you can just ignore the y-inter. Because you can plug in 0 for y-intercept and solve. So it's super easy to do. So there are benefits of both forms of the line. Alright, I know we're getting close to 30, so I'm just going to work out 2 of the ones from below. So give me 1 second. So let's work out number A. Well, we've done this quite a few times already, so that's why I'm not going to spend way too much time on it. But we're just trying to get y by itself. So 2x plus 5y equals 10. X is bothering it, so we're going to move it to the other side. Kick that out. You bring down your 5y. Well, we can't combine 10 and 2 because they're not like terms. This one doesn't have an x, so 10 minus 2x, just keep them the same. Divide by 5, divide by 5. So we get y equals 10 divided by 5 is 2. But unfortunately, 2 over 5 is what will have to stay because we can't divide by 5 with a 2. Alright, you would do the same thing over here until you get your y by itself. Let's take a look at this one here. If we want to get this in standard form, remember we're not allowed to have fractions. So all we have to do is multiply the entire equation by the denominator. So what do we do here? Well, we get 7y equals negative 5x minus 21. Then we can just bring it to the other side, where it's 5x plus 7y equals negative 21. We always want it in ax plus by equals c form, where they're all integers and not fractional or decimal part. Alright, that is all I have for you. I did keep it under 30 minutes. Woohoo's to here or any on the other page, which are the Show Your Learnings. They will be in the notebook for you to be able to look at. Have a wonderful day.